Ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Ahlulbayt Live, a weekly show discussing some of these social issues affecting our youth, families and communities. Tonight on Ahlulbayt Live, as we remember, as we commemorate the martyrdom of our great Holy Lady Fatima Zahra, peace be upon her and her holy family. Tonight on Ahlulbayt Live, we're discussing about the great life of Fatima Zahra and hopefully engage in a discussion where we aim to engage in a series of wonderful points on how to become a successful family, of course, through the light of the Holy Prophet's daughter, Fatima Zahra. Tonight on Ahlulbayt TV, we're delighted to be joined by two wonderful guests. Welcome back, Sayyid Muhammad Razavi, and our second wonderful guest, Al-Hajj Ali Raza Mu'afi. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyidina and Al-Hajj Mu'afi. Welcome to Ahlulbayt TV. And of course, we remind our viewers, of course, that this is a live show and you can participate in the discussions. Give us a call, 0203 411 842, or you can text us 07507 110 110, or you can tweet us at Ahlulbayt TV. Now, before we started, when we marketed the program again on our social media pages, we aim to run two types of campaigns. Number one, what lessons have our viewers learned from the life of Fatima Zahra, peace be upon her? Give us a call or text us. Again, the numbers should appear on your screen. So two campaigns running today on TV, and we will read some of them out as we sort of engage in the discussion. So the first campaign is, what lessons have you learned from the life of the Holy Lady Fatima? And the second campaign is, what steps can you suggest for us or for families to become successful? So two campaigns. Number one, what lessons have you learned from the life of Fatima Zahra? And number two, the steps to becoming a successful family. What tips, what advice can you suggest for families to become successful? There could be for parents and for children. Okay, so inshallah, we'll read them out during the duration of the program. But Sayyidina, I'd like to begin the program, the conversations with yourself first, in trying to understand the relationship between the Holy Lady Fatima and her father, Prophet Muhammad.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I would like to give my condolences to the whole Ummah, especially Imam of the age, Imam Mahdi Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajahu, for his great grandmother's sad demise, and we are in the middle of the two seasons of remembering the sad demise of Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha. There is no doubt that Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha is unique from many points of view. She is the daughter of Prophet Muhammad. She is the wife of Ali. She is the mother of two Imams. She is a unique personality. As far as father and daughter relationship, Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha, during her short period of life, witnessed so many upheavals and troubles and problems during the life of during her short life. She witnessed how Prophet Muhammad was treated by so-called early Muslims in the early stages of Islam, and non-Muslims. They both treated her differently, and she also went through difficulties, and she was there for her father all the time. Her father used to stand up in her respect. This was during the period when if somebody had a child as a daughter, he was not respected, and people used to criticize Prophet Muhammad for having a daughter and not having anyone to continue his generation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave assurances to Prophet Muhammad by revealing the Surah Al-Kawthar, that we have given you plenty of khair, plenty of good, and actually the future generation of Prophet Muhammad continued through her. So there are many points that how Fatima Zahra was respected, first of all, by her father during that period of time when ladies were disrespected. Ladies were not even allowed to own property. Ladies didn't have the right to do bay'ah. Ladies were exchanged like properties. Ladies did not have their own personality, surname, and all these things. So Prophet Muhammad gave respect. And this is the lady who he used to stand up for his respect, gave her hand in the hands of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. And according to narration, the only suitable person who could marry Hazrat Fatima Zahra salatullah alaiha was Ali.
Okay. Haji, we've heard from Sayyid about the history of how women were treated during the time of the Holy Prophet. In today's day and age, what is the role of the father towards his children and vice versa?
Obviously, one of the fundamental roles, there's some basic things such as being a breadwinner, trying to make the family secure, etc. But more important than that, really, is being a friend, being there for your children, for your family, for your wife, and really knowing what's going on in the outside world, knowing one's duty, knowing how a Muslim family functions, a successful, pious Muslim family, based on education, based on Islamic upbringing, and therefore knowing what one's strategy is in order to get to the point of a successful family. Being affectionate and being kind, which means really no violence at all around the house, being very peaceful around the house.
And what about the role of children towards their parents? Is it a similar role?
I mean, of course, I mean, the role of children often is learned within the household. If there is peace and there is a clear strategy to bring up children in due course, they're more likely to learn a lot more respect, to respect their adults. It actually comes from the home, the house environment. But it's very important that all of parents, all of us, actually read ahead. We do our duties. We know what exactly is our agenda. It's not just going to come purely by experience. We need to talk to our more experienced people, read books on it, knowing what era we're living in, 2014, what are the risk factors. But of course, and we've got very good models, for example, like Imam Ali alayhi salam, Hassan and Hussein, how they respected their father and the Ahlulbayt. So their example really couldn't be any more relevant today than any other time throughout history.
Okay. Let me just read out some of the campaign messages that we've been receiving before the start of the show. So number one, on the lessons that we can learn from the Holy Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, and this viewer says, Sayyida Fatima would clean the Prophet's wounds after the Makkans injured him with stones in battles. Sayyida Fatima was a source of comfort to her father. He would come to her when he did not feel well, like before the event of the Qissa. So this is one of the very many messages that we've been receiving over the last couple of hours from our viewers. So of course, we invite our viewers to also partake in the discussions. Give us a call 0203 411 7842, or you can text us 07506 842 842. We're running two campaigns. The first one being what lessons can we learn, can we derive from the life of Lady Fatima Zahra, and secondly, what steps, what solutions, what advice and tips can you give us for families to become successful in their day-to-day dealings and in their relationships between parents and children and such like. Okay, so Sayyidina, as you mentioned earlier about the Holy Prophet and Bibi Fatima, how he used to stand up for Bibi Fatima. Do you think that same level of respect should be carried out in today's day and age as well? Should fathers, mothers stand up for their daughters, or was that level of respect given to Bibi Fatima only?
Well, the Prophet Muhammad is an example for the whole Muslim Ummah, not only Muslim Ummah, for all humanity. This is because he was appointed to complete the manners. And he came to teach us the manners, not to only Muslims but to everyone. And this is how he attracted others towards Islam. So he was basically teaching, and this is how he attracted the Arabs towards the religion of Islam. Arabs who used to bury their daughters alive, he used to stand up for the respect of the daughter he had. And he would give his place to his daughter, i.e. he was teaching his followers that this is how you should be respecting the ladies, because the lady or the daughters are the mothers of the future generation. if you don't respect them, if you don't teach, if you don't take care of them, they cannot be a proper mother, because a mother should be someone who's stable in her life, who is not mentally scarred, who is not who has not gone through difficulties and suffering. Although Fatima Zahra salawatullah alaiha was going through a lot of sufferings because of the enemies of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how they used to throw the placenta of camel on Prophet Muhammad, they used to throw rubbish on Prophet Muhammad, they used to throw stones on Prophet Muhammad. And then she also witnessed that the hijrah between Mecca and Medina, and the hardship of traveling, and and then she also witnessed, as one of the viewers has rightly pointed out, that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to get injured and hurt in the battles that he took part, and she was there not only as a daughter. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to call her Abiha, that she was the mother of the father, and respect her. So this shows that how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very close to his daughter, and how his daughter was very close to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So mutual respect and care was there.
Ahsant, okay. Haji, sticking to the point of role of parents towards their children, how does one divide the role of the husband and the wife towards their children? Should they both have the same roles and responsibilities towards their children?
Obviously, some of them are common grounds, and some of them are distinct. Some to mother and some to father. Right. Fundamentally, we're living in an age which is hugely stressful, and if we don't have psychological family management, then it will increase the risk of actually running very stressful life. Therefore, the main thing is to try and understand the underlying process, what the family structure is about. Yep. Rule number 1 is to keep peace around the house. Rule number 2 is to never argue in front of children. Number 3, never contradict each other or tell each other off in front of the children. Number 4, in general, no shouting around the house. If there are any issues, then by all means, set aside time to discuss them between yourselves and come up with a clear conclusion, define the problem, discuss a clear conclusion, and that will gradually, maybe someone's they haven't got much experience of parenting, you need to read 1 or 2 books, talk to the elders, and then more practically discuss the problems without the children, discuss them. Don't think because your child might be very young, 1, 2, 3, or even a toddler, they won't hear it. The brain will actually record any event, that's subconsciously. Therefore, in a nutshell, try and find out what the problems are, put some time aside, establish a family management, and therefore prepare yourself for a world that, if problems arise, treat it as a challenge. They're not problems, they're challenges of life for everyone, not just us.
You spoke about stress management and that we live in a society where people are stressed throughout their days and dealings. How does one know that they're stressed, and what is stress management for them?
For example, part of it is to do with our perception. If we assume that everything should be functioning okay with no problem at all, suddenly you get a parking ticket, for example. Yeah, you don't expect it. You say, oh well, that can actually lead to huge problems, or the child has a problem at school. Everyone, you're bound to come to one sort of problem or another at school for your children. Then don't panic. In all situations, turn it into a problem. Think about the solutions. Go to the right sources. Get more information. That effectively reduces this level of stress and brings calm and a clear strategy into one's mind, and therefore that becomes a repeated pattern of actually turning problems into a solution, and then hopefully a lot more relaxing life.
Sure. Okay, moving back to the sort of messages that we've been receiving from our viewers. So as mentioned before, we're doing 2 campaigns. Number 1, the lessons that we can learn from the life of Fatima Zahra, and the second one being asking our viewers at home, what steps can you provide, what tips can you advise towards a successful family life? So one viewer just sent us a message via Facebook earlier who says that we ought to give time towards our family members. No one wants to be ignored just for some meeting or for work. Give time to each and every one of them so you can understand every individual properly, and this can prevent any misunderstandings in the future. Haji, we'll go to time management in a bit later on, but Sayyidina, the viewer here says for people to give time towards members of their families. When you think of the time of the Holy Prophet, him being the prophet of the Muslim Ummah, him also being the husband towards Bibi Khadija and the father to Lady Fatima, he must have had so many different roles and responsibilities and duties, towards his family, towards the Muslim community, towards humanity in general. How did the Prophet manage to find the time to give each one of them the correct level of time required?
Yeah, well, if we look at the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to divide time in several different sections, like a time for worship, time for people, time for family, time for personal health and enjoyment. And this is what he taught, and this is exactly what Ahlulbayt ﷺ teach us, to divide our time into different sections so we can enjoy in the life. And if we are doing everything according to teachings of Islam, then we are worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whatever we are doing. So even if we are working, we are worshipping. If we are with the family, we are worshipping. If we are praying and praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, spending time in supplication, of course we are worshipping. And even if we are looking after ourselves and health or taking care of the world, we are also worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we are submissive to the will of God. And that's the true meaning of Muslim. So that's what Prophet Muhammad himself did. And once Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib والسلام, with Fatima Zahra sallallahu alaihi, went to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they asked, we believe Fatima Zahra and Imam Ali both are infallibles. They did not need any kind of telling off or advice. Of course, we believe that all infallibles seek information from Prophet Muhammad, and Prophet Muhammad was the source of information and knowledge, and Prophet Muhammad used to guide and pass the direct knowledge to Imam Ali and Fatima Zahra sallallahu alaiha. So from this point of view, they went to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked him to advise us how to run their family life. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised Ali ibn Abi Talib ﷺ to be responsible for the duties outside the house, and advised Fatima Zahra sallallahu alaiha to be responsible for the duties inside the house. This shows that dividing the responsibilities is the solution for happy marriage. Dividing the responsibilities is the solution in work environment. Dividing the responsibilities is the solution in, even if you are governing a government. Without dividing the responsibilities and taking everything on your shoulder, you will lead the community, government, family, everything to destruction.
Sure.
So Prophet Muhammad advised you should divide responsibilities, and the division of responsibility is not based on if you are getting 50%, the other person has to get 50%. It's not like that. The division is according to ability. For example, if there is a weak person, you cannot expect the weak person to handle something which cannot be handled by that person. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed the ladies or mothers to provide the emotional support, then they should be given that responsibility. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed men to take care of the hard work and earn a living for the family, they should take that responsibility. Although I'm not against that a lady cannot earn a living. There are many ladies, especially nowadays, who are earning the living. We are not criticizing them. We are not saying that they are doing anything haram. If they are doing everything with the agreement of the husband and family and not harming the core of the family, then there is nothing wrong. But we should always remember what Prophet Muhammad said, that what Fatima Zahra should do, and what Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib should do. And in this relationship, none of them asked each other anything that they could not afford. Like Fatima Zahra never put a burden on Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib and Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib never raised any expectations that Fatima Zahra could not fulfill.
Thank you very much. Haji Muafia, earlier this morning when we were engaging in our phone conversation, you had mentioned a very interesting point to me where you said that Imam Ali, in his will towards his children, he first wrote to them about the importance of being organized. and this was a particular message to me, Haji. But inshallah, I wanted to seek your opinion and to inform our viewers as well. How important is organization and time management when it comes to being a successful and a very happy family?
Obviously, it goes beyond doubt. It's fundamental. You know, as you confirmed, that Imam Ali salam stresses to Imam Hassan salam that we need, you know, the first thing he says in his wasiyat, that we need to be organized. And the same thing applies to anyone's mind and brain and the nervous system. If the thinking process is organized, if therefore the feeling become organized, if you're actually organized, because the brain basically runs on a map. If you're organized, become a lot less stressful. Obviously, not overly organized to the level that, you know, we get OCD, but within reason. But overall, if we try and learn each night, ask ourselves, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What did I learn from it? We train our brain to actually become more organized than than before. As far as family is concerned, obviously we are the role model for our children. We are actually trying to, you know, take this, if you like, ship to a certain destination. You know, there are certain passengers in it, and if the navigator, being the father and the mother, they don't know the direction themselves, is going to be the case of if the blind leads the blind, they both fall into the ditch. Therefore, if we know the direction, then obviously we're going to be a lot calmer, we're going to be a lot more peaceful, and therefore we will have a good sense of direction morally, spiritually, and obviously educationally, and in the world we're living in, then to guide our family to the right direction.
To become organized, I mean, is that a skill that one acquires to become organized, or is that something very inherent? Is it a very natural process to become organized?
Well, fundamentally, if when there is a will, there is a way. If we aim for to be organized, we can become organized. There are many ways of becoming organized. I mean, and then becoming comfortable with that level of organization. The first thing is that we cannot afford to be lazy. Lazy thinkers, lazy doers. We have to motivate ourselves. The fact that we have a Fajr prayer, we have to get up early in the morning. Those who are lucky that don't sleep after Fajr, they're a lot more fresher than those who who sleep after Fajr. Although I can acknowledge the fact that some people have early morning attention, higher level of attention. Some people have late night attention. Therefore their concentration level peaks after 10 p.m. For example, and some people the other way around. 5 p.m. is the highest level of their attention. So one needs to know and become acquainted with how one functions. So we need to know ourselves a little bit, and then really maneuver based around that.
Ahsan, thank you very much, Haji. Inshallah, we'll now go for a very short break, but once we're back, we'll continue discussing steps to becoming a successful family and what lessons can we learn from the life of our Holy Lady of Light, Fatima Zahra, peace be upon her. See you very shortly, in roughly 2 minutes' time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back to Ahlulbayt Live. Tonight we're discussing learning from the life of Fatima Zahra, steps to a successful family. As we've been discussing over the last half an hour or so on Ahlulbayt TV, that we are running 2 campaigns on screen. The first one being, what lessons have you, our viewers, learned from the life of Fatima Zahra? Send us your texts via the text number 07506 842 842, or you can tweet us at Ahlulbayt TV, or you can call us, of course, 0203 4117 842. And the second campaign running on screen is what steps, what solutions, what what tips and advice can you provide as parents, as children, on how to become a successful family? So we're looking forward to receiving your calls and your participation in our program here this evening. Okay, Sayyidina and Haji Mu'afi, over the last few minutes during the break, one of our viewers asked this particular question: what is the definition of respect, and how can families achieve respect from each other? Sayyidina, I'll ask you first.
Well, respect. If you respect others, they will respect you. It's mutual, and that is the way that we find Ahlulbayt used to practice in their life. I mean, like Prophet Muhammad used to give equal respect to children. I mean, whenever he used to see children fighting or arguing in the streets of Mecca or Medina, he used to get off his horse or the ride, whatever he was riding on, and he used to go down and establish eye contact and respect the children and listen to their argument or problem or issues, and then in return they used to respect him and listen to him. Unfortunately, in our society, the head of the family don't respect each other. And children copy that example in their life. They see a father is not respecting mother and mother is not respecting father. The children also start the same pattern in their life, and when they get married, they continue to copy the same pattern.
Haji Mu'afi, your opinion?
Yes, I think what Sayyidina said is very important. Obviously, mutual respect is fundamental, but more so, if you link patience and respect together, there is a lot that we can get, a lot of respect we can earn as a result of patience as well. Let's say we've got a teenager. A teenager, if you're purely respecting, they might learn a lot of negative things from outside. They will respect us, but underneath, if there is an argument, for example, that very soon wear off, and they might act in an angry fashion, God forbid, swear. But the key thing for the parents is to remain calm and have a high level of patience, and through that patience the individual will learn. Especially with adolescents, is a very, very difficult problem, because the adults, which generally speaking we snap out very quickly, and we think this is the time to teach him some respect. Teaching other people respect doesn't come with anger. Even if we want to punish your children, you don't do it with anger. You can do it in a way they will learn the consequence of what they've done. Doesn't mean without any anger whatsoever. If anything, actually, you can do it with laughter. So many children will learn, no doubt, but it very much depends on the strategy of the parents. And if it's a parent to parent, again, be patient. If one gets angry, be patient, respect them, as Sayyidina said, they will learn. So patience is a very fundamental element, and then followed by thoughtfulness, talking at the right time, discussing a problem issue, not anytime, anywhere, really finding out the right moment to discussing that, all accumulate respect.
And what about the second message that someone sent us, saying that don't try to make decisions for others? And this is in response to how can we achieve respect from each other? So the answer this person says is don't try to make decisions for others.
I think there is a lot in that. Obviously, none of us would like to see other people keep making decisions for us. That actually eliminates the factor of respect. Whereas if we actually help the person to make wise decision, and ultimately them to think about it and then make that wise decision, in other words, is informed decision, they would feel, okay, so I'm listening to my elders, I'm listening to other people, more knowledgeable people, and I haven't got a closed mind, but ultimately I have to make that decision. But therefore the key to this process is to really have a good bonding with this person, who's a family member obviously, and trying to convey the information as clearly as possible, so that they will think about it and inshallah make the right decision. But on the other hand, if we actually dismiss the decision making potential and said, this is what I think you should do, then they're going to think, well, what about me?
Sure. In fact, this reminds me, I was watching a program last night, and the father asked the son to do something, to which the son responded, why should I do it? And the father said, because I'm your father and you're my son. so go do it. And the son done it, but he was very, very upset, and he done it very reluctantly. So again, maybe it's as you mentioned, you know, to try and provide rationale. Sorry.
I mean, what the father has said is not necessarily wrong, but he could have actually upgraded it a lot better. So although I am your father, although you're my son, I know you will do what I say to you, but the reason I think you should do this is because of reason A, reason B, reason C. If they still disagree, say, well, okay, just try it. If it works out, I'll accept the consequence. Okay. So in other words, we need to develop that relationship, that communication, affectionately as well as based on up-to-date information, so that the respect element will be built in.
Ahsan. Okay, let's head back to our campaign. So lessons that we've learned, our viewers have learned from the life of Holy Lady Fatima Zahra, peace be upon her. So another lesson that one of our viewers has sent in earlier suggested to trust your parents with important decisions of your life. Sayyida Fatima trusted her father when he left her in Mecca while he migrated to Medina, and also Sayyida Fatima trusted her father with the decision of choosing Imam Ali alayhi salam for her husband. Several men had proposed to marry Sayyida Fatima, but the Prophet only asked her about the proposal of Imam Ali, and she agreed to marry him. So, Sayyidina, the level of trust displayed between the Holy Prophet and Bibi Fatima, respect, as we mentioned earlier, was one that we can all cherish and learn from. But what else can we sort of learn from the life of Lady Fatima when it comes to the with her and Imam Ali, with her and the role of her as a wife towards Imam Ali?
Yes, that's an excellent example that Fatima Zahra Salatullah alayha trusted her father in the decision for the husband. And of course, she was not forced. We should also look at the behavior of Prophet Muhammad towards Fatima Zahra Salatullah alayha. He approaches his daughter. He says that Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam has proposed for you. I think he is the most suitable person. And she says, whatever you decide, your decision is my decision. And she marries. And then then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not leave Fatima Zahra salatullah alayha alone. He kept on checking on her. For example, once he went to Hazrat Fatima Zahra salatullah alayha's house and asked her, how is your life? Everything is okay? Is your husband okay? Is your family okay? She said, everything is okay, but there are ladies in the community who keep telling me, why did your father got you married to a poor person like Ali? So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then she was not complaining, she was just conveying the message of the ladies of the community. And this is one of the reasons of the families being broken down with gossip and other people interfering in the life of others. Anyway, so Fatima Zahra sallallahu alaiha conveyed the message, said this is what the ladies say. Then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi said, what were you looking in Ali ibn Abi Talib? Were you looking for gold and silver and this and that? She said, of course not. So then you have the qualities that you were looking in Ali ibn Abi Talib. Therefore, you are the richest person, and your husband is the richest person. You are the richest person, and don't care about what others say. So this is how father and daughter trusted each other. This is how Fatima Zahra Salatullah alayha did not give in to the gossip and stirring up of the ladies in the community. And nowadays, most of the problems that we face and the divorces that come towards us is because of competition and what others are saying about my husband, if I'm rich or not, or so do I have a suitable husband or do I have a suitable wife? These are the things that create problem in the family.
Haji Mafi, how can families deal with this issue right now, as said and mentioned about the gossiping, about interference? So families are doing what they're doing, and then suddenly the mother, the wife tells the husband, I heard this, I heard that, or vice versa.
How do families deal with it? I think it's having a clear strategy or to selecting the right information.
You make this system sound like it's some kind of like, I don't know, like a university. You know, families. There's a system. There's this.
Well, at the end of the day,
regulations.
must be a difference between a psychological dialogue and a religious dialogue, and a non-religious and a non-psychological dialogue. You know, must be a difference between a family is functioning well. They're religious. They want to be more and more educated, inshallah, as all of us do. And where, you know, the mind is just at rest with no criteria. No, bear in mind that as Muslims, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam clearly aim for knowledge. Islam is about knowledge. It's about learning. I mean, not just academic knowledge. I'm not mentioning, but learning from your experience. You know, it's a huge university. We're talking about a man who believed in gaining knowledge so much that actually said to Muslims, go to China. At the time, there was no planes, no, making a journey months on camels to learn something new and come back. Therefore, the importance of knowledge is absolutely fundamental. Learning is fundamental from our experience, from other people. Nowadays, we've got the internet. You know, yes, we can enjoy a lot of sceneries on the internet to chill out. But at the same time, if you're not learning anything new from it, then obviously potentially we're wasting time.
Sure. I'm just trying to read some of the. Again, this just. I'm trying to sort of read the messages that we've been sort of receiving over the last couple of minutes from our viewers, and some fantastic ones being sent to us. So, just trying to relate to what you've mentioned right now, Haji, with regards to trust. In fact, one particular viewer sent this earlier about respect. And they say your children, your wife or your husband are now yours. But remember, at the end of the day, they're also humans. They also have an opinion or suggestion. Sometimes it can be bad, sometimes it can be good. Never be angry with someone's opinion. They have their opinions and nobody is perfect. So the word perfect reminds me of exactly what the Ma'asumin are. You know, they are perfect. You know, they are the Ahlulbayt, they're infallible. Do you think that people like us who are not infallible, I mean, people like us, do you think that we can actually take lessons from people who are perfect?
Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib gives a reply to this question. In one of his narrations, he says that, try to be like me, and I'm sure that you will not be 100% like me. But making an effort is rewardable. So whatever level we reach, the aim and our role model should be the highest example. It should be the infallibles. Then wherever we reach, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us for the efforts that we are making. And because our role model is the most perfect human being, that then of course there will be benefits in that, and we will be successful in wherever we reach. But if we make wrong personalities our role model, we will be misled. We will be setting we will be setting bad examples for our children, and we will not achieve anything. One of the great scholars, he asked one of his sons that who is your role model? He said, you, father. He said, then you will reach nowhere. He said, I made Ali ibn Abi Talib my role model, then I have reached to this level of education and position in the society and community. If you are making me as your role model, you will reach nowhere. So we have to aim high, then wherever we reach, inshallah, we will be happy.
Haji, is it important to have role models?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's like it's important to put the postcode in the navigator. Of course, we'll get lost if we don't. If we don't have the right role model, we clearly go astray. As if we have Imam Ali as a role model, he's a symbol of bravery, knowledge, control, and in all fields. Obviously, if we go and try and understand what was the personality of Imam Ali about, then what knowledge meant to him, what bravery meant to him, and also how affectionate he was. The man was, during the day he smiled a lot. He smiled and joked so much. There's so many narrations, as Maulana can tell us, that was his personality. Yet he was a very serious man when he came to it. Yet he was a very thoughtful man. You know, he wasn't, full of, his crying was done at night time for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he was, praying. During the day, he was smiling with the ummah. And, on the previous occasions when we were talking about domestic violence, even if we have remotest, if we choose Imam Ali alayhi salam remotely as a model, you could never ever hit a spouse. No way. Absolutely no way.
None of the Imams hit their spouse.
None of the hit them. Therefore, the level of affection and thoughtfulness that governed their system, the level of, you're going to condemn me for personality, for type of university talk in the system again.
No, I'm not.
So, therefore, the effect that spirituality and du'as had on them, the thoughtfulness and the fact that they valued gaining knowledge, it meant to them, we can all do it. Therefore, we need to have a role model, we need to identify ourselves, what's our potential, what's our weakness, and therefore try and develop in the areas that will help us, inshallah, to to be successful fathers, successful mothers. So there is plenty of things that Ahlulbayt can teach us, and is directly related, plus what psychology can teach us, in order to have successful families.
Okay, I want to ask you whether or not fathers therefore, or parents have therefore another role to become role models to their children. So inshallah, Haji, you can answer that very shortly after we take this call first from one of our viewers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much for calling. Is that Sister Sakina?
Yes, it is.
Oh, subhanAllah. Thank you very much indeed for being one of our fantastic and avid viewers of Ahlulbayt TV. We always appreciate whenever you call in, Sister Sakina.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. It's very interesting to watch. It's a very relevant, discussion, and very real, and it's a lot to take in, steps to a successful family, and absolutely, there's definitely more than one step that that we need to take, and I like what the scholars and speakers were talking about, because they were saying that there is definitely an element of trust. And I also believe, when I look at a successful family, when I look at others around me, or what I think makes a successful family, is patience as well as trust, and like they said, role model. A lot of time we need to spend with each other, and we also have to have a lot of understanding. And there's so many elements to being successful in your family. I know that there was something else that I was thinking about, also, a mother dividing her time, between husband and children. And it's not easy when you have, more than one child. You do have to divide your time, and you have to have that level of understanding, and perhaps kind of doing things more as a family where, especially in this day and age, the father taking on some of the responsibilities to either, do their homework with their children, or sitting with them, or whatever. And I think in certain respects, it brings you closer, if you can have that bond, because you are dividing your time, and especially in this rat race. But yeah, successful marriage, I have to say, a lot of it is based on trust, patience, a lot of patience, and understanding, definitely, without a doubt.
And sacrifice.
And sacrifice, absolutely, absolutely sacrifice. And I think when you do things, I suppose that's true for me, and what I've seen with a fantastic role model, my mother. I feel my mother is, and has always been. Is just doing things lovingly, happily, wanting to do them for your family, and that's where the sacrifice comes in. So whether you're poorly or not, or you could overlook that pain in your knee or that migraine, but you get up and you do things because that's what you just do, and you're kind of like an autopilot, really, and you do it lovingly. And I think when I look back, and I think what made my parents so successful was the fact that they spent a lot of time with us, and I'll always remember them being with us all the time, every step of the way. going through our work, telling us hadith, telling us stories. My mother used to read the newspaper and just kind of go over some of the articles and, bouncing ideas off of us. There was always an element of dialogue and conversation, and that was paramount in my life, which drew us closer. And then, you ultimately trust one another, understand one another, and, you become friends, which is what ultimately you want, because you want your children to see you as that come to at the end of the day, and not run away from, but that they're able to come to you. So it's a long process, and the fruits of your labor is much later, but you have to pine away at it, and it's not easy. But there you go. That's my take on it anyway.
SubhanAllah. Sister Sakina, there's much that I wish to ask you from the points that you have mentioned right there. But of course, I think time is of the essence. But very, very quickly, considering that we are commemorating the martyrdom of Lady Fatima Zahra, what lessons have you learned as a mother from the life of Baby Fatima?
Is just that. Is that sacrifice? It's just that loving nature that I can imagine, and that when we read and when we hear hadith, just how much she was always around her children, doing things lovingly, and doing them for her husband, probably with her family. I always feel, when I think of this lady of light, Bibi Fatima, I always think of her doing everything with such love and patience. It just and that's how I see it. That's how I honestly do see it. And I can see her spending time with her 4 children, always being around them, and them learning from her. So, being the mom, so that's how I see it. Just a very loving home, sacrificing, patient. And, I think, what I really do believe, seeing this, is that any home that has Islam in it, and any home that has deen and religion, truly, in one shape or form, is successful. Even if the children do go astray, but if there's Islam in their upbringing, they will always come back. I personally have seen this. When there is a strong element, I'm not saying it's easy with teenagers, but I do believe that where there is Islam and that good, strong foundation, even if the kids go for a bit of a wander, they will come back, because they know something's missing. And that's my take on it, really.
SubhanAllah. Sister Sakina, thank you very much as always for your wonderful participation in our programs. We wish you all the very best and success in the fantastic life that you lead with your wonderful children, and I wish them all the success as well as they grow up to be wonderful children as well.
Thank you. Ameen. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you very much, Sister Sakina. Well, there you have it, dear viewers. We would like to open our phone lines to our viewers to also share some of their opinions about, if you're a mother, how hard, how easy is it to be a mother in this day and age? What tips, advice can you suggest, and can you share with us on screen? Give us a call at 0203 4117 842. Wow. I don't know who to go to first here. Sayyidina, maybe if I can come to you. You mentioned the word sacrifice there. Sister mentioned doing things with love, with care, with affection. How important is that?
I would like to give an example from Hazrat Fatima and Imam Ali's life. According to a narration, when once Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib came home, and he had a hard day, working day, and then he came home and he said, "I'm hungry. Can you? What is there for food?"
Yeah.
And Hazrat Fatima Zahra sallallahu alaiha came and she said, "Well, I've been hungry for the last 2 days, and whatever food was there, I've given to the children." He said, "Why didn't you tell me?" He said, "I didn't want to ask and burden you with something that may had put you under burden and pressure." So he said, "No, it's my responsibility and duty to do that." So he went out of the house and wanted to get some food for the children and his wife. On his way, he borrowed a dinar from someone to buy food, and then he finds Miqdad. Miqdad was sitting in the streets, and he was hungry, and he said, "What's wrong with you?" And he said, my children are suffering from hunger, and that they don't have enough to eat, and we are going through a difficult time as a Muslims in the community, and I don't know how to provide. So Imam Ali ibn Talib gave this 1 dinar to Miqdad, and then went to the mosque and to pray behind Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And after prayers, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Imam Ali ibn Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, and he said, can you invite me to your house for a meal? And he couldn't say anything because it was his father-in-law, Prophet Muhammad, an honor to have him in his house. He said, of course, you're welcome. So he took Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to his house, and suddenly he noticed while they were sitting, and suddenly Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib notices the smell of nice food is coming from the house.
Yeah.
So he said, where is this food from? So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, this is the reward of the coin or dinar that you gave while you were more in need of it.
SubhanAllah.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided you with it.
Ahsan, thank you very much, Sid. And that ends us very, very nicely, actually, to go for a very short break. But once we're back, we'll be continuing our discussion on how to become a successful family and lessons that we can learn from the life of our Holy Lady Fatima Zahra. See you in about 3 minutes' time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Rahman Rahim. Welcome back to Ahlulbayt Live. Tonight we're discussing learning from the life of Fatima Zahra, steps to a successful family. Before the break, we heard a fantastic call from Sister Sakina Ismail, who shared with us some very wonderful points on the art of being a parent, on how to become a parent, on the importance of communication, the importance of trust, the importance of being patient whilst being a mother, whilst being a wife. Of the family, and of course I invite our viewers to also participate in the discussion. Give us a call 0203 411 842, or you can text us 07506 842 842. As mentioned before, we are running 2 campaigns on screen. The first one being, what lessons have we learned from the life of Lady Fatima, and secondly, what steps can you share with us for families to become successful? Okay, over the break we received a very interesting sort of comment from one of our viewers who says, Assalamu alaikum, now more than ever, parents must focus on togetherness. This generation is deprived of love, communication and attention. Serious issues are coming to light and at a very worrying rate. Thank you very much, dear viewer, for your comment. Haji Muafi, can you...
We are communicating, but via mobiles.
Yes.
Families communicate within the house with mobiles.
Should parents communicate via mobiles with their children then, Haji Muafi?
I think what the viewers take to is very fundamental, and there's no doubt that there is a huge affectionate, lack of emotional or affectionate fulfillment within most families. Now, this doesn't mean we can't do anything about it. What Sister Sakina in your previous caller mentioned, she was pretty much spot on. You know, obviously she's experienced it and she's got kids herself, and the way she outlined it, really one couldn't put it any better. Very difficult to put it any better. So I'm very grateful to you, Sister Sakina, as well. So the reply to this question, I would really refer to Sister Sakina's outline of a model. Befriend your kids, spend time with them. And trying to have a strategy, think about things, try and educate them through stories. There are many things we can do, but we have to spend time. A lot of time, it's not, people think you have to spend a lot of money on children, but really if you want to educate, if we want to educate our children, we just need dedication to begin with. Maybe there is some money needed, but we need dedication and love to begin with. Then we need education. So if we seriously spend some time with them, a lot of the problems we can prevent. Yes, there are problems because simply a lot of people do not spend time with their children. It's as simple as that. People get angry, people get stressed out, and therefore children, not only they don't have a friend relationship, they become, have a hate relationship with their parents. We can prevent it. So if this is prevented, we do befriend our children, we do have the patience, particularly with adolescents, then huge lessons can be learned, And we can actually, and I agree completely with our sister Sakina that, you know, we can put our children on the right path, especially during adolescence. If they do go as, you know, for a wander, then, you know, be patient. Don't become angry. Don't say, this is it. I've worked so hard for 15 years. What am I seeing? From around the 14, 15 years of age mark to 19, 20, please develop you know, a very heavy duty patience. So you will win the heart and the mind of your children.
Haji, you've mentioned, and Sister Sakina as well in her call, about the importance of befriending your children. Do you think there's an element, or there's a risk that by befriending them, by playing with them so much, by spending too much time together, by becoming friends with them, exactly what you've said, there's a risk that children might disrespect their parents in the process?
Absolutely not.
Why not? I mean, imagine if I have a friend, right, and I go out to them, play with them badminton or football.
Yeah.
Sometimes I might say, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" For example, okay,
Yeah.
and you might end up using those same words to your father, for example, because you've seen your father stoop to the level of being a friend, and therefore your respect towards your father is now that of a friend.
Being a friend doesn't mean that the father or the parent doesn't have a strategy. Being a friend means you understand them and you can teach them through that friendship. Being a friend is just a window, an opportunity for us to teach our children, for them to feel close to us, for them to tell us all the secrets. If the children aren't telling us any of their secrets, then therefore we're not doing something right. So being a friend doesn't mean we drop all guards. It means we're just responsible parenting. We are friend, we're not using, you know, you don't have to have them feel, because he's my dad, I respect him, therefore I don't tell him anything. There are many children who have got one face with their parents, a completely different face in the outside world, which I think is hugely hypocritical, hugely damaging, and therefore parents don't really know what their children are doing out there, and when they come to learn about it, it's too late, most often than not. Or, even if it's not too late, you know, they've got a lot of hard work to do. Yes, there are a lot of cases which is not necessarily too late, but there's a lot of hard work to be done. So why not prevent it to begin with?
So how do you develop the relationship of being a father with the son to being a friend, but at the same time develop that respect for your son,
Well,
and from your son?
At the same time, when you're friends, you know, remember, if you're driving a car, you're navigating. Yes, you can joyride, but you can enjoy driving as well. You know, they would like you to joyride, but you don't do it. You do it through the rules and regulations, yet you're doing your driving. The same thing, if you have a relationship with your son, your daughter, your child, you know, you can friend them, but obviously if a friend at school is doing, you know, using certain terminology, you're not using them. So the child is learning, oh, you can have a friendship without those terminologies. You can have a friendship based on love, communication and care without being punished. Therefore, and that will come, the children will very clearly learn that method. And if we have certain knowledge that we want to convey to them, you know, a lot of time, thoughtfulness, children actually respect their parents through thoughtfulness. Often people think it's due to qualification. No, I mean, there are people who are not qualified, but they've got unprofessional jobs, but they're very thoughtful, affectionate people. And children respect them hugely, and yet they're friendly. So being friends doesn't mean that you literally act, we don't act the same as the person in the school, but it means we have a lighter relationship, we have a joking relationship, and at the same time, depending on the child's personality, we actually come up with things that actually teaches them about life. So there are plenty of things we can do, provided we as adults have an agenda. We can see a few steps ahead. Whereas a friend in school, they are at the same level as our child. They don't see a few steps ahead necessarily. Whereas adult needs to see a few years ahead. And yet they are acting as the same age as the child, with knowing what the next steps they're going to take next.
Ahsant. Okay, just a kind note to our viewers that your messages are being received by the channel, and there's plenty of them to read out. But unfortunately, time is of the essence, so I won't be able to read all of them out. However, the phone lines are open, so to get your points across, your questions across, give us a call. The lines are open: 0203 411 842. If you are calling from abroad, it's +44 203 411 842. We'd love to hear from you before we end the program here this evening. Okay, Sayyidina, just reading some of these comments from our viewers. So again, from the lessons learned from Bibi Fatima, one viewer quite rightly said, of course, and this is in relation to Hajj, when he stressed the point about knowledge. One of our viewers sent in earlier saying, Sayyida Fatima always acquired knowledge and would always ask her sons to tell her about the sermons of the Holy Prophet, yet again encouraging sharing of knowledge. And secondly, Sayyida Fatima was always willing to answer questions of the women of Medina, even if they were many. For example, when an old lady sent her questions about fiqh, I'm not sure which particular example this viewer was sharing, sort of, but of course we understand your point overall. So, Sayyidina, very quickly before we sort of end the program, we have about 12 minutes left. Could you narrate to us some stories, some incidents or hadith about how Sayyida Fatima developed the relationship with her children? How did they interact as a family between the mother and the child?
Yeah, Fatima Zahra Salatullah Alaiha used to spend time with her kids. She used to pay special attention to their education, upbringing, and this reminds me of recently I met a scholar who is son of a scholar, and he himself is a scholar, and his mother is also daughter of a scholar. So he was telling that how he became a scholar. He's saying that his mother used to make sure whenever until he went to the Hawza.
Yeah.
Until he went to the Hawza, his mother used to make sure every single time that he stood up for prayers, she would sit in the corner of the room and listen to his prayer.
Yeah.
And whenever he used to say, for example, he was saying that when he used to go to ruku, he said, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim wa bihamdih. Immediately she would recite salawat. Or when he used to make wudu, she used to be there to watch him how he did his wudu.
Yeah.
Or when he wanted to eat food from outside, she would always tell him off for eating food outside, because she preferred to feed whatever she cooked was absolutely halal and pure, and then gave it to her. So these are the things that encouraged him. Although he was son of an Ayatollah, he is son of an Ayatollah, but he says he never learnt anything from his father. Whatever he learnt about Islam is from the childhood that his mother taught him. And that's why it is very important for the mothers of the future generation, the ladies, to be educated in Islam. The way Hazrat Fatima Zahra Salatullah Alaiha was educated by Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If the mothers are right, then the future children can be following the same footsteps. If the mothers are not right, they are following just wrong role models, and they are just after their own care, and they don't take care of the children, and they're tired of looking after children or dump the children to others.
Sure.
Then they cannot expect the future generation to be the true followers of Ahlulbayt alayhim salatu salam. So if the mothers want to really fulfill this responsibility, and this scholar says they didn't have any servants, they didn't have any one to look after, and his mother used to take care of every single thing of the life of his education. I mean his educational side of life, and until he reached the age that he went to Hawza, and then he completed his studies there. So mother's role is very important. That's what Fatima Zahra Salatullah Alaiha did with Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, although they were both infallibles and imams. But the role that Fatima Zahra played in their life is extremely important as ma'asuma and infallible as well.
So can we therefore take from this incident that mothers have a bigger responsibility to act as role models than the father?
Yes, of course. The future generation is brought up in the laps of mothers. So the mother has to be more One of the scholars was saying that even if if you find the most corrupt person in the society, he would not look for a wife or daughter-in-law who is corrupt. They always look for a better, because they want to bring up their children better than themselves. So they always look for a better wife or better daughter-in-law for future generation.
Sure. Haji Muafi, there's a question that's come in for you actually, and this is in relation to when you said earlier that children should share their secrets with their parents in terms of being friends with their parents. So it's a long message, but to paraphrase, sometimes teenagers can feel sad or lonely. So if they haven't developed that level of bond or relationship with their father or the mother, what can children do in such scenarios?
What can children do? What can parents do?
Well, this comes from the child. So
okay. First of all, don't give up hope. Talk to someone who you think they're more experienced than you about how to develop bonding with your parent. Talk to whichever of your parents you're closer to, either your mother or your father. Try from general conversation, and then maybe you can question your parents on basic issues, inviting them to understand, inviting them, for example, I was at school today, such and such happened, I wonder what effects it has on children. Maybe, your mother or your father, they don't necessarily have to be specialists, they tell you about their experience. They start from there. You say, oh, okay, when I was a child, this is what happened, that's what happened. You can always start this relationship from somewhere. If you choose the right time, the right language, of whatever you think you're capable of. And then you will gradually, inshallah, come out of this isolation. Isolation can have many reasons. If you're a teenager, and one of the essence of teenage years is actually you feel very different because there's so many things happening to your body. So it's not you as a person who's different, it's just the age that you're going through. Therefore, try and read a bit about adolescence, because I don't know what the age of this viewer is. So, do start from very light conversations with your parents and gradually develop that. I hope that answers your question. If not, if you think I can be of any help, please give me a call and I'll be more than happy to help.
Haji, you mentioned earlier about children maybe being hypocritical in a sense that they act differently when they're with their parents and when they're in school or the outside world.
I didn't say children will be acting hypocritically, but we make our children act as hypocrites because we don't allow them to show themselves in front of us. Because if they did, we get angry. Rather than getting angry, we need to guide them.
But okay, fine. Now, what about parents when it comes to how can I say this? When it comes to not disciplining, but when it comes to teaching the child how to be a good person, the father will say, do this, don't do that, but the father doesn't follow the same things as he's been telling his children. So it's like, do as I say, but don't do as I do. How important is it, if I can ask you, for parents to actually do as they say?
It's fundamental. Of course, it's fundamental. For parents, if they don't practice what they preach, it will actually have a severe negative effect on the child's development. Because the first thing they're going to say, who are you for me to listen to? The fact that you're my biological father, why don't you do it yourself? We are actually putting doubt in the child's mind. If we care enough about our child, then really any self-development, it starts from ourselves. So purification, it starts from ourselves. We can't preach without actually doing the practice ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much, Haji Muafi. So just we're left with I think 5 minutes before we end the program. So to sort of just briefly end the the discussions with some last points from our viewers. There's, like I mentioned to you earlier, there's plenty of messages that we've received over the last hour or two, and of course even before the program began. So very quickly, lessons learned from Fatima Zahra. One of the lessons is that always glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sayyida Fatima would always glorify Allah by reciting the tasbih whenever she would perform the chores of the house, and in loving the children equally. Sayyida Fatima greeted both Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein as qurrata aini wa thamarata fuadi, the light of my eyes and the delight of my heart. And of course, this is narrated in the holy event of Qisa, the hadith of Al-Qisa. And finally, give in the way of Allah without expecting reward or thanks. Sayyida Fatima and her family gave away their meals 3 days in a row to the poor without asking for any reward, while they themselves remained hungry. This event led to the revelation of Surah al-Dahr in their praise. Sayyidina, there's plenty of lessons that we can learn from the life of Fatima alayhi salam. Sayyidina, would you like to add to any of these lessons?
Yes, one aspect that we usually forget regarding Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, and we never mention, we go into family life and other suffering and other things, is the political awareness of Hazrat Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha. Hazrat Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha was so politically aware that she knew her responsibility as a daughter towards her father, and she was beside her father in political movement of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She knew what was her father's right, and then when she married Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, she was side by side of her husband, and she was well aware of political responsibilities of herself as a mother in the society, and she was supporting Imam Ali ibn Talib. For example, regarding Fadak, she gave khutbahs, she gave sermons to defend the right of Imam Ali ibn Talib. When the issue of Khilafat of Imam Ali ibn Talib came, Hazrat Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayhi was there as a politically aware person, that what is the right of Imam Ali ibn Talib and how to defend. And this is another lesson, that our mothers of the future generation, should not only be aware of just looking after the kids from emotional point of view, from religious point of view, they should also be aware of political issues that going around themselves, make the children aware of what's going around them, and train them and nurture them in a way that they become a true supporter of Imam Mahdi ajallallahu ta'ala farajuhu.
Should they therefore become socially active in the community, politically?
Yeah, without becoming socially active. I mean, this is what Fatima Zahra sallallahu alaihi did. Look at her life. She defended the right of her father. She defended the right of her husband. She was there to support her father and husband both from political point of view.
Hassan, thank you very much. And Haji Muafi, we have roughly 2 minutes before we end the program. So very quickly, to wrap up our discussion, steps to become a successful family.
1, choose the right role model. 2, there's lots of things we can do. Let's start learning what those things are. Number 1 is, after choosing the right role model, find out what are the personality traits of those people. For example, Imam Ali alayhi salam was a very brave person. Seek knowledge. He thought every night, thinking, what did I do right? What did I learn from today? And therefore, not repeating the same mistake twice. Is that a problem if we make a mistake? But let's not make it twice. Patience with our spouse, affection, thoughtfulness, using our knowledge. Therefore, if we sum all that up, it brings a very peaceful, thoughtful, knowledge-seeking family. And that's the family of Ahlulbayt, which is very applicable in 2012, far more than ever before. 2014.
Haji, very quickly, how do we change our mind and emotions to knowing what we know into action? So how do we do what we know already and turn them into actions?
Okay, try practicing small things. For example, if you get angry, think about what was the issue that you got angry about, and if you can't control it, walk out of that angry situation and then come and talk to your spouse later when you calm down. You know, trying to start from very small things and develop them gradually and work yourself up from there.
Thank you very much, Haji Muafi. Thank you very much again to Sayyid Razavi. And of course, we thank Sister Sakina Ismail who called in earlier. Thank you again to all our viewers for watching and those who participated in our campaign online and on social media. So before we end the program, just one last tweet. This is from Project Zainab, who says, regarding Lady Fatima, her legacy she left behind by being the perfect daughter, wife and mother, an inspiration for all women in today's society. And finally, from one of our viewers, Nokia 2222, who says, we learned of Fatima Zahra defense of the right to publish and justice. So thank you very much indeed to all our viewers for participating in the show here this evening. Thank you very much for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.